Ash, Georgie, and Mandy's first marriage story update teases hardship for the couple. We're young, in love, and figuring it out. That could be the tagline of Georgie and Mandy's upcoming spin-off. But based on the latest updates surrounding the first chapter of their married life, it's looking less like a honeymoon and more like a test of endurance. Fans who adored their quirky yet heartfelt dynamic in young Sheldon may want to brace themselves. Marriage might not be smooth sailing for this Texan couple. After years of navigating awkward family dinners, surprise pregnancies, and Sheldon-related chaos, Georgie Cooper Jr. and Mandy McAllister are finally front and center in their own series. But just as young Sheldon often blended laugh-out-loud humor with emotionally rich storytelling, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage promises something even more nuanced, a look at two young people trying to stay afloat in the deep end of adulthood. And the most recent behind-the-scenes update hints that stormy weather is coming. A rocky start, the show picks up where young Sheldon left off. When Young Sheldon concluded its 7-season run in 2024, viewers were left with a bittersweet farewell to the Cooper family. But there was a silver lining. Georgie and Mandy's journey was just beginning. The final episode saw them adjusting to parenthood with their baby girl, Cece, and preparing for a low-key wedding. They were young, overwhelmed, but surprisingly grounded, a couple you could root for. But now, according to new story teases from showrunners and a few cryptic cast comments, the first season of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage won't just pick up the pieces from young Sheldon. It's going to start tearing them apart. A recent interview with series co-creator Steve Holland revealed that the central theme of the spin-off is growing up before you're ready. Holland elaborated, Georgie and Mandy love each other, but they're also in their early 20s trying to be 40. That's going to create real tension. Translation? The honeymoon's over before it even starts. Young parents, big pressures. At the core of the upcoming series is the reality of being young parents without a solid roadmap. Both Georgie and Mandy come from non-traditional family backgrounds. Georgie, despite his charm, still lacks a formal education. Mandy, though fiercely intelligent and independent, gave up a lot to stay in Texas and raise their child. Now married and raising a toddler, they'll face every economic and emotional challenge imaginable, especially in a small town like Medford, where opportunities are scarce and gossip travels faster than Wi-Fi. Leak set photos hint at Georgie continuing his work at Mima's illegal gambling room turned legit laundromat, while Mandy tries to re-enter the workforce. But tensions reportedly arise when Mandy wants more than Medford can offer. The creative team seems determined to reflect real struggles faced by young couples, especially those who become parents before they've fully figured out who they are. It's not about fairy tales, said Emily Osment Mandy in a recent panel. It's about resilience. We're going to see Mandy crack under pressure and rebuild herself. Conflict brewing, Mandy's dreams versus Georgie's reality. One of the biggest potential points of conflict in Georgie and Mandy's first marriage is ambition. Mandy had once dreamed of a broadcasting career, possibly in a bigger city. Georgie, on the other hand, has always been more grounded, happy to stay near family, work with his hands, and carve out a humble life in Medford. This clash is reportedly going to be a central arc in the first season. Mandy, having put her career on hold for motherhood, starts feeling like she's falling behind. Meanwhile, Georgie's satisfied with the status quo, especially if it means being close to his daughter. This tension could split the pair, not in a melodramatic soap opera way, but in a slow, subtle drift. If done right, this storyline could reflect real-life struggles, where couples slowly realize their paths might be veering in different directions. Extended Cooper family still in play, but less involved. The Cooper family dynamic was one of the highlights of young Sheldon, but don't expect Georgie and Mandy's first marriage to turn into young Sheldon 2.0. Most of the Coopers will remain in the background, although fans can expect occasional appearances from Mary, Mima, and possibly even Missy. But this intentional distance is important. Georgie and Mandy are being forced to stand on their own. No more falling back on family couches or Mima's casino wisdom. This is their story now, for better or worse. Still, producers confirm that family remains a narrative touchstone. In particular, Georgie's complicated relationship with his faith-driven mother Mary will continue to be explored, especially as he tries to become the kind of father he never thought he'd be. And Mima. Don't count her out. Annie Potts is confirmed for multiple guest appearances, reportedly serving as both comic relief and surprising emotional depth. Georgie's growth arc, or lack thereof? While Mandy's struggle with her personal identity may drive the emotional arcs, Georgie's development or resistance to it could be equally impactful. The last few seasons of Young Sheldon showed real growth from Georgie. He went from slacker older brother to a devoted dad with surprisingly strong instincts. But Georgie and Mandy might challenge that progress. Insiders hint that Georgie could hit a plateau in his personal growth. Feeling overwhelmed by responsibility, financially strained, and emotionally fatigued, he may fall back into old patterns, apathy, sarcasm, and occasional immaturity. This, in turn, could create friction with Mandy, who is pushing herself to evolve. Will Georgie rise to the challenge, or will his reluctance become a wedge between them? Humor amid hardship. Despite the promise of hardship, the spin-off won't be devoid of laughs. In fact, the creators are using comedy to soften some of the harsher realities. The tone is said to resemble that of early Roseanne or even the Connors, gritty and real, but with laugh-out-loud moments that remind viewers why they fell in love with these characters in the first place. Expect situational humor, chaotic daycare drop-offs, questionable parenting advice from Mima, and Georgie's never-ending struggle to fix a leaky roof with duct tape. But underlying each gag will be a layer of sincerity that could elevate the show beyond typical sitcom fare. A title that's ironic. On purpose? There's something telling about the title Georgie and Mandy's first marriage. It's charming, but also unsettling. Why first? Is this a cheeky nod to the idea that young marriages don't always last? Or is it a narrative seed being planted for future seasons? The ambiguity has fans buzzing, and some are worried. Could the spin-off be setting us up for a slow burn breakup? Or does the first simply reflect their youthful naivety, a promise that they'll grow into something stronger over time? Series showrunner Steve Molaro simply smiled when asked, replying, "We'll let the audience decide what the title means as the story unfolds." Will the couple survive season 1? One thing is clear, Georgie and Mandy's first marriage isn't afraid to dig into the difficult parts of love. The show dares to ask whether love is enough when bills are piling up, ambitions collide, and sleep is a distant memory. But that doesn't mean all hope is lost. What made Georgie and Mandy compelling in Young Sheldon wasn't just their chemistry, it was their honesty. They were messy, real, and willing to try, even when the odds weren't in their favor. If the show stays true to that spirit, there's a chance they'll make it, maybe not perfectly, but authentically. Final thoughts. A sitcom with real stakes in a TV